Today is March 5th, and I will be reading the fifth section from George Washington's farewell address, which is really a remarkable document. He presented this to the people of the United States and the Congress in September of 1796 after serving 2 terms as president. And we're coming to the end. I think the next section more will be dealing with our relations with the rest of the world, which would be a wonderful thing for some of our leaders to consider. But here we go, part 5. It is important, likewise, that the habits of thinking in a free country should inspire caution in those entrusted with its administration to confine themselves within their respective constitutional spheres, avoiding in the exercise of the powers of one department to encroach upon another. The spirit of encroachment tends to consolidate the powers of all the departments in one, and thus to create, whatever the form of government, a real despotism. A just estimate of that love of power and proneness to abuse it, which predominates in the human heart, is sufficient to satisfy us of the truth of this position. The necessity of reciprocal checks in the exercise of political power, by dividing and distributing it into different depositories and constituting each the guardian of the public weal against invasions by others, has been evinced by experiments ancient and modern, some of them in our country and under our own eyes. To preserve them must be as necessary as to institute them. If, in the opinion of the people, the distribution or modification of the constitutional powers be in any particular wrong, let it be corrected by an amendment in the way which the Constitution designates. But let there be no change by usurpation, for though this in one instance may be the instrument of good, it is the customary weapon by which free governments are destroyed. The precedent must always greatly overbalance in permanent evil any partial or transient benefit which the use can yield at any time. You understand that usurping powers, which you might say is for a good in the moment, sets a precedent which will be very dangerous. That's why we have the system of checks and balances. George Washington was very concerned about this. Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness, the firmest props of the duties of men and citizens. The mere politician, equally with the pious man, ought to respect and to cherish them. A volume could not trace all their connections with private and public felicity. Let it simply be asked, where is the security for property, for reputation, for life, if the sense of religious obligation desert the oaths, which are the instruments of investigation in courts of justice? And let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. But what kind of religion, I'm asking? That is the question, not the Armageddonist Fruit Loops. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on minds of peculiar structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. 'Tis substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government, The rule indeed extends with more or less force to every species of free government. Who that is a sincere friend to it can look with indifference upon attempts to shake the foundation of the fabric. Promote, then, as an object of primary importance, institutions for the general diffusion of knowledge, like public education. In proportion as the structure of a government gives force to public opinion, it is essential that public opinion should be enlightened. That's why having a literacy rate of 35% among high school seniors reading at a high school level is a great threat to the future of our republic. We can't have a republic if people are illiterate. Going on. As a very important source of strength and security, cherish public credit. One method of preserving it is to use it as sparingly as possible, avoiding occasions of expense by cultivating peace, but remembering also that timely disbursements to prepare for danger frequently prevent much greater disbursements to repel it. Avoiding likewise the accumulation of debt, not only by shunning occasions of expense, but by vigorous exertions in time of peace to discharge the debts which unavoidable wars may have occasioned, not ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burthen which we ourselves ought to bear. Don't throw your debts on future generations. The execution of these maxims belongs to your representatives, but it is necessary that public opinion should also cooperate. To facilitate them the performance of their duty, it is essential that you should practically bear in mind that towards the payment of debts there must be revenue, that to have revenue there must be taxes, that no taxes can be devised which are not more or less inconvenient and unpleasant, that the intrinsic embarrassment inseparable from the selection of the proper objects, which is always a choice of difficulties, ought to be a decisive motive for a candid construction of the conduct of the government in making it, and for a spirit of acquiescence in the measures for obtaining revenue which the public exigencies may at any time dictate. So that was, hold on here. That was section 5 from George Washington's farewell address, speaking of creating debts, imposing taxes to secure a certain revenue. He said it's always unpleasant, but you have to do it. But of course, then the government should be investing in something just, which is to the benefit of everybody, not a $1.5 trillion military budget, which benefits nobody except for a handful of warmongers. But that's it from me. So we will be back tomorrow with section 6 of George Washington's farewell address. As always, I encourage you to pick it up, read it on your own. You'll find it, I think, quite inspiring and far-sighted.